7:17, so.
Well, better late than never.
No, we're good.
Everyone's-
We're good. That's good. Sometimes these Zoom meetings take a little while to get going. It's all right.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, Wayne, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
So there will be someone for the open forum. There's two people. One of them's Diana, and Marjorie Searle is on. I know she wants to speak, so we should allow her to use the video. There she is, or coming. And we're recording. Right, are we all set?
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay, it's all yours.
Hi. Thank you for letting us join you tonight. So I have an explanation of why we're here. Shall I just go ahead and read it?
Please.
Okay. Regarding 124 Summit Drive, recently a painter doing some exterior touch-up work brought to our attention that the exterior wood molding of our 5-bay bow window in the south wall of the kitchen felt soft. This was the same situation that had prompted us to apply to the Preservation Board, was it last year?
Yeah.
I think it was last year.
About the same time last year.
Right, to replace our second-story north-facing window, for which we received a certificate of appropriateness. The painter investigated the situation by removing interior drywall beneath one of the windows and discovered, sadly, that water had been coming in through the windows and caused some of the wood to rot below. At that time, we contacted our architect, Jim Durfee, who reviewed the situation and indicated that we were going to need a contractor to do some repair work and that the windows might need to be replaced, but that we wouldn't know until they could see what was going on by doing further investigation. At that point, we made an effort to identify a contractor, and this has all been within the past couple of weeks.
Right.
We made an effort to identify a contractor who could do the work and who could be able to fit us into his schedule, knowing that if it turned out that the windows did need to be replaced, we needed to act quickly to contact the Preservation Board in order to be in compliance. Further investigation by the contractor indicated that the windows were failing and were not being well supported by the section of wall below. He removed the windows to more fully examine the situation, and we all agreed that the windows were compromised as well, and we could not put them back in. At that point, we contacted Rochester Colonial, who had provided us with the Marvin windows last year and requested that they give us an estimate for replacing the windows. Our plan was to get the same, to get the same exterior fiberglass/interior wood windows that had been installed last year and repair the wall to match existing and paint the windows to match existing. Because we were facing at least a 6 to 7 week wait to get new windows, it was necessary for the contractor to remove any of the deteriorating wood and secure the window opening against weather, animals, and human entry. As it happened, we had just missed the deadline for applying for tonight's meeting. So we are appearing at the open forum to explain our situation and the need for us to move ahead with ordering the windows so that the contractor can complete the project before the snow flies. To add to the excitement, we will be hosting our 2-year-old and 5-year-old grandchildren and their parents due to COVID circumstances over the next several months. So we're looking forward to having the wall at some point become intact. Thank you for helping us to expedite this situation.
Marjorie, can I ask who your contractor is?
Pete Sewell.
I'm sorry?
Pete Sewell.
Peter,
Peter Sewell.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll do what we can.
Thanks.
You've already received permission to use the same type of windows elsewhere, is that right?
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Comments from anyone?
I can give you an update of where we are. I'm glad that they called because that does happen. Projects do things like that occur, the best thing you can do is call the town, which is what they did. What I've done is that I've extended the cutoff for the October HPC meeting to try to help them get an application in for a certificate of appropriateness. But what we need to do now is to let them at least get an indication that the window choices that they have would be acceptable to this group, so they could start moving forward. And we would have to go through the certificate of appropriate process in October.
Well, thank you, Ramsey, for extending the deadline. And if we've approved the windows before, I certainly don't see any problem with telling the Searles to go ahead and order the windows. Does anyone else?
So, Marjorie,
So you're at your own risk, and I did explain that, but I do feel that if you've approved those windows in the past, then it's a pretty safe bet.
Right. John?
so Marjorie, the way that I believe you've explained it is that you're going to be purchasing Marvin windows that'll be made and match the size of the windows that are deteriorated, and you'll be installing them in an opening that is the same size as the opening as the windows are being removed from.
Right.
You're going to repair the exterior with the same material and paint everything up the same way. Is that correct?
Right. Theoretically, there shouldn't, whoops.
There we go.
Oh. Oh, it's,
Looks like you've got some firewood there.
We've got sawdust.
theoretically, yeah, well, not even theoretically. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
Okay, well, that understanding that, I don't see any problem, and I just say that we appreciate that you guys have been good stewards of that house. Apparently, it needs that, and that the work that you've done prior to this has been very good, and I would expect this to go the same way.
Well, it's a contemporary house with no overhang. That may have something to do with it, but the joys of old house ownership, we all know them well. So anyone else have any objection or comment?
Yeah, based on the photographs that she sent, they had a serious problem, and it certainly needs to be rectified.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, David, you are absolutely correct.
Reminds me a little bit of the of Jane and Fran when they restored the Frank Lloyd Wright house and started poking around a little bit.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, here we go. Put on the seatbelts.
Marjorie, any ants?
No, it was amazing. We did not see any, there were no insects that suddenly, jumped out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Wayne, you're right. It's you should never have somebody come over to do touch-up work. It's just a bad idea.
But you can also look at it in the other way. It's a good thing he did, or it could have been a real problem. So
Fortunately, we have a painter who is very familiar with the house, and so he's always watching for any concern. So
well, it's a beautiful house, and you've done just a tremendous job in being incredible stewards.
thank you very much. So it will be nice to try to get a wall together so the kids don't sneak out. But
Particularly the 2-year-old.
I think we're good. I think the contractor did a very good job, closing it up.
So any objection from anyone on letting Marjorie go ahead?
No.
Well, as I understand it, they're going to, proceed, but they'll be back in October.
Right. So I guess this isn't I guess the question is, does anyone have an objection for them going ahead and ordering windows?
Not under the criteria that's been laid out, no.
Right. Do we need to take a vote or
No.
Ramsey?
No.
Okay.
This is, this just happened. I just asked him very quickly to explain what happened.
Okay.
I have to say, these things do occur quite a bit.
Yep.
And the best thing you can do is to get in contact with the town and try to help you get through it. You know,
So-
unfortunately, I don't have any way to waive the requirements.
So Marjorie, go ahead. Oh, one more question. Who is your painter?
Jason McClagger.
Jason McClagger.
He is,
He's
I
great.
can't say enough
Does
good
a really
things.
good job.
Great. Okay. Super.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Okay,
Marjorie, follow up with Gretchen, please, and get everything in so we can get you going.
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Jerry, if I could just pop in here, this is Ken Gordon speaking. I will say, you know, we do have unique circumstances like this come up every now and then, and it would be permissible under our historic preservation code. In fact, the code expressly allows the commission to establish rules or policies to determine when repairs or maintenance of landmarks will not require a certificate of appropriateness. So I don't know, Ramsey, if you want to give that a little thought, or if somebody on the commission wants to give a little thought to what criteria, what conditions, what circumstances might lead us to allow someone in an emergency situation, repairing with materials previously approved by the board, something along those lines that you might want to have as a process. I would rather that we have an established process and not just do this in a very informal way.
I believe if you can make repairs as long as you're using like-kind materials and restoration. So considering we already have approved windows, I guess this could be.
It's not. I mean, this is not strictly a like-kind repair with like-kind materials. But what I'm saying is, it's permissible under your code to. I mean, we'd have to have a public hearing to create those policies and procedures, which would, in special circumstances, allow work to be done which otherwise would require a C of A to not require a C of A. And I think there are special circumstances like this one that we should probably consider creating that policy or that procedure. That's what I'm suggesting, rather than just do it as we've just done on an informal basis. Just my recommendation. I mean, it's up to the board or up to staff to take that up, but that would be my recommendation.
Well, it's a little difficult because you want to make sure that we have some kind of control over what's going to go on. And in any event, I think if there was a situation like this, they would still have to come before us in some form or another, because otherwise I think we would lose that ability to make sure that things are being done in a correct manner. Now, obviously they've secured the house, or at least the openings, to prevent any further damage, but that's going to be difficult, I think.
I can give it some thought, though. I'm not sure exactly the wording of that or how that could be properly implemented. You know, originally this thing, she had two window choices when this whole thing started. And really, I was wanting her to come also here to say, she was looking at maybe doing an Anderson window, and I needed guidance. I wasn't comfortable, and I wouldn't be comfortable under a policy choosing a window.
That's
So
correct.
it is something I have to get some thought in, and see if I can do some research and see if I find any policies out there that will waive our process in emergency situations. I think is really where, you know, Ken is, as opposed to doing things informal.
Well, regardless,
Then we're following a policy that's been established by this board, and it all becomes very clear.
right. I think regardless of the policy, I think we still need to be apprised of what's going on and have some input as to whatever.
And the policy could be written in some way for that too, I would
Okay.
think. Because on this one, even if there was a policy, I don't know if I was going to make a window decision
Right.
without coming to you guys. I just don't think I would.
Right.
I'm not, that's not my,
You and I can,
my field.
I'm sorry, Ramsey, you and I can talk offline, but I mean, we could, shorten noticing periods in that policy or procedure for certain special circumstances so that matters could come before the board like this one, to get the board's input. And not have somebody hold off on actually ordering windows or doing work that's necessary. If you look at our code, there is no emergency repair
There isn't.
allowance. There's none. So if you have an emergency at your designated property and you need to fix that problem with something that is not like kind material, because maybe you can't get it, maybe it's not available, you're going to need to get a C of A, and you're going to need, at least technically under the rules as they now exist, you'd have to get it on the agenda and wait a month and have a public hearing. I'm suggesting that maybe we can shortcut that in a formal way with a formal policy. So Ramsey and I will talk, and
Yeah.
I saw John nodding his head or giving a thumbs up, so maybe John's got some thoughts and ideas too.
What
And
John's thought is that we need an emergency policy, is what John is, because he called me. Said, is there anything in the code to deal with the situation? And, if we don't have anything, I think it's a good point. I would have loved to have had something.
Ramsey,
When I first talked to her, she was panicked.
well, yeah,
you know,
rightfully so. Well,
And I felt bad. I hate having to be honest with you. You want to help someone, not have to be a bureaucrat with them.
well, and Ramsey, you did fine by extending the deadline. So, and by having her come tonight and us improving the windows, so at least they can be ordered, and then she can come back in October. So thank you, Ramsey, for that.
Yeah, and me and Ken will talk.
Okay,
Try to figure something out. Would help me.
Diana, I believe you're on the podium.
Right. I think there's a sketch, but it doesn't really show much. Jonathan has been chomping at this idea for many years now about solar panels and solar installations. And of course, I'm of mixed. I mean, yes, I agree for the best good of the world and all that, but I really don't like to look at them. So, but he met this fellow, and the proposal really seems too good to pass up. So I promised that I would bring it before you. The little sketch shows the numbers come out. I was totally surprised. I guess the total cost of the thing would be less than $10,000, and it would give something like 50% of the electric that we use now based on the bills we have now. And so it would save about $1,000 a year. That's really not here nor there, although the numbers really did surprise me that there's 2 credits, a New York State and a federal credit. So the whole thing is like less than $10,000. With that, I said I would present it. I don't like to look at them. So unfortunately, this is the total south side of the main roof of the house. What I just done is every time I've driven home, I've just tried to look and see if I was just a driver in a car, and if as a driver, I wouldn't know. I would not have a clue. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't see it. I wouldn't even get a glimpse. As a passenger, looking out the window and watching the scenery go by, I might look up and say, oh yeah, look at those, so wait, they got a solar roof. So I don't know. In one hand, I just don't like what they look like. On the other hand, I guess my argument in the other direction is that they are removable. It's something that goes over the shingle roof, and so ostensibly could be removed. So with that, similar to how a paint color could be changed, I guess that would be my argument for. That's about it.
Well, if you had to replace your roof, I assume that you have to take the panels off and put new shingles on and put the panels back. Is that right?
They would, that whole side of the roof would be re-roofed, even though whether it needed it or not, before they put the panels on.
So I think in general, I'm a proponent anyway of good things for preservation, good things for energy, good things for the planet, etc. Campbell Whittlesey House didn't hesitate to go after some sunshine. So you'd be in good company that way. I don't think that, I mean, it might be a harder situation if it was a barrel tile roof or something like that, but given the way it, you know, a standard roof, and like you said, these are removable at some point if somebody didn't want them. So, I mean, I have no problem with it. I think it's a nice idea if you can live with it.
I just don't like when you drive by and somebody has them on like a front elevation porch where you're driving by and they just smack you right in the eye. So I've been looking, that's it. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a very simple roof. It's just one big rectangle. And I had looked into it a few years ago, just putting some on the pool house just to heat the pool, but it was just not feasible. The only place in the house you can do it is the south side of the roof, which is, you know, the main roof.
Diana, do these have a lifespan?
I don't know. That's a good question. He does say that they lose tiny percentages of efficiency from year to year, over 30 years. Oh, here it is. Maximum 0.65 per year through year 30. So I guess he's thinking they could stay there for 30 years. Oh, he's got it right here. Yeah, I haven't read it myself. 30-year linear performance warranty, 25-year product warranty, and 30-year performance warranty. Inverter carries a 12-year warranty. I guess that seems fair. I was just surprised at the cost. Also, the other thing is, I don't know, they have a starting date. I don't know if the starting date is when you sign a contract or when they start work, but the federal credit goes to 22% next year, and then the 2022 goes away unless they put it back again. But as of now, it's 22% next year and 0 after that.
I just want to make you aware of something else in the code, is that we do have a section which is 207-45, which is our solar energy systems regulations that you may want to check into.
Okay.
Make sure that's an additional regulation beyond having to come to the to this commission with an application for certificate of appropriateness.
Okay.
And we can help you with that if you're going to proceed forward.
So it sounds like you'd want to do it this year for sure, since the tax credits, federal tax credits, decrease next year. Is that right?
Well, that's my question to this fellow. Is signing the contract good enough to say that, you know, it's a done deal, or because still, I mean, it's still pushing it to find a roofing contractor, and I don't know. And I guess it would formally come before you. I don't even know what the deadlines would be. So we would formally have to come before the board before we finalized it, unless we just went ahead and, you know, on a winger, like.
Well,
that's the thing. Without a certificate of appropriateness, I would not be able to issue the building permit for the installation of the panels.
Okay. Okay, so
well, I think, to be honest with you, you do need to do research, just because roofers are very, very tough this time of year.
I know.
The pandemic has made them even tougher, and prices have gone up, right, Amanda? So there, you do have some challenges ahead of you to try to get that work done this year. It's just not our time schedule, but let us know, because we do support solar in this community, and if this board gives you the approval for the certificate of appropriateness.
Okay, so we should make a formal application. I guess the worst thing that can happen is if it's next year, it's just some smaller credit or something. That would be the biggest difference.
Well,
I mean,
it would make sense to find out if you sign the contract, would that lock in the existing credit?
That's my question.
Yeah.
But still, we have to come before you. I guess that wouldn't be till November now.
Yeah, do you have drawings ready to go?
There are no drawings. This is all, that's it. They just show you so many panels, such and such a size, and there you go.
Because for the certificate of appropriateness, it would be appropriate to have something showing their placement
like-
on the actual roof area.
Right.
Also, you'll need drawings, showing load and a bunch of stuff to get the building permit.
Okay.
And you can't have the panels too close to the top of the roof. There's just these different regulations that are gonna have to be shown to be met in
Okay.
order for us just to even issue the building permit, much less the certificate of appropriateness.
Is that all in this 207.45?
Well, that's in the additional regulations. The certificate of appropriateness also requires a plan to be submitted.
All right. Just to say, I've been kind of holding back on this. I wasn't really, I guess I'm talking myself into it. You guys sound a little encouraging, so I guess I'm talking myself into it. Okay, I will pursue the guy and get all the rest of the information and then make a formal application.
Diana, if you don't want to do it, we can take care of that.
I just don't like looking at them, but I can't see them, and the price seems so reasonable. It seems a lot different than
Well, we can't see them from our house,
Yeah.
so it's
yeah, so there you go. Just keep your eyes on the road and you'll never see them.
there you go.
Okay, I will look into more information and we'll make a formal application for November, I guess.
Good.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for open forum?
If they do, please raise your hand, which you can get to in the shared screen portion. If there's anyone that wants to speak during the open forum, if you could raise your hand. I am not seeing any, Jerry. Brett, do you see any? No.
Then I'd like to call to order. Ramsey, would you call the roll, please?
Ludwig,
Here.
Robertson,
Here,
Goodman,
Here.
Whitaker,
I'm here.
Page,
Here.
Grayer.
Here.
Absent is the Vecchio.
May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
I'll make that motion.
Am I here? I do not know if I am part of this group.
Yes, haven't called the application yet.
Oh, okay. So I did
No,
not know.
you're coming up next. You're up
Okay,
next.
I didn't know your system and I was worried. Okay, thank you.
No, you're good. And by the way, I did not know that was you. So I'm glad that I was thinking about calling you, by the way,
Okay.
just to make sure you were in. So
Okay.
Anyway, motion to approve the agenda. Let's see, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next item is the minutes from August 27th. And it's a good thing I didn't print them out. I think there were like 78 pages. Should I start, or does anyone else want to start?
I have a very small one. Page 45, line 6.
Okay.
I was speaking and it says Mary instead of Jerry. There is no Mary. Mary should read Jerry.
Okay.
And I was actually, sorry, this is Amanda Dreer. I didn't think that the open forum should be recorded in the minutes. It wasn't when we met in person.
no, it does not need to be. Well,
Okay.
actually, Ken, does it? It does. The whole thing? Ken, you're on mute. I think his answer is yes, it does have to be.
Okay.
Can we get Ken unmuted?
My fault. Sorry about that.
Okay.
No, I was going through the 332 landing, South Landing documents. Yes, that under the governor's executive order, we have to transcribe everything that takes place during the Zoom meetings. So that's
So it's a different regulation, different.
All right, most of these are under Amanda's, and she probably will agree or disagree, but page 3, line 6, I think we're talking about the door, and it said 4 inches 7 feet, and I think it should be probably 7 feet 4 inches.
Or 7 feet 84 inches. I apologize, I didn't review the open forum comments because I didn't think they were going to need to be
Well,
included.
stand by.
So I'm looking at it right now.
And page 5, line 7, it says recorder glass. Does that make any sense? Recorder glass?
3/4 glass.
3. Oh, 3/4, not
3/4.
Okay. And page 10, line 20, I think it says if all options, I think it should be of all options. Page 11, line 4 and 5, small children are going to be struck. Or, yeah, I think it says stretch or struck or scratched. I don't think we need all the small children are going to be struck. So I'm not quite sure what that means.
What page was that again? I'm sorry.
Page 11, line 4 and 5. Small children are going to be struck, I think.
Sure they're going to. I don't recall what that was.
Well, the small children are going to be
destructive.
Oh, destructive. Okay. There you go.
Destructive, yes.
Yep.
And they already are destructive.
And then page 16, line 8, elevate. Is there such a window called elevate?
Yes, that's the collection that they have. It's the wood inside, fiberglass outside.
Okay, and then on page 32, line 18, I think it should be grain, not green.
I think so, yes.
Okay, 37, line 14, should be standing seam, not seaming or something. Standing seam for the roof.
Yeah, it's written as scanning seam. Yeah, with standing seam. That's what you said.
Okay, page 45, line 13. I think it should be just one member, not one number. And page 69, line 15, moisture, M-O-I-S-T-U-R-E, misspelling. And on page 71, line 12, oh no, I'm sorry, wrong one, because this was Jim Keene. You're not, are you doing anything with Jim Keene? No, you're not. He's a stucco guy.
I thought Keene was on page 69 and page 71, the references to King. I also believe they should be Keene.
Okay, yeah, Keane.
Per the letter that we got.
Right, okay. And then, well, are you going to talk more tonight about where you are? Because you and I had a conversation offline about some changes we talked about. Are you going to bring that up, or should we continue offline until you're ready to go?
Yeah, no, we are not ready to proceed based on several things.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Well, if you get a chance, let's talk, because I've got some other information for you.
thank you.
Great.
We're still in reviewing the minutes if we could.
I just had one or two more changes other than the 69 and 71, the references to Keene instead of King. On page 49, line 21, and into page 50, we just didn't have a correct spelling of Chabad Lubavitch. I believe the correct spelling was C as in cat, H-A, B as in boy, A, D as in dog.
I thought that was corrected by Ken.
I believe the stenographer just misheard Ken
Oh,
one.
okay.
And
All right.
just so it's corrected in the records, we have the right reference.
Okay.
And the only one I had was page 52, line 22, transit, I believe should be transom window.
Okay. Any other corrections?
Yes, I've got a couple. Page 43, line 8. It's the Joseph Abbey house, not the Joseph Anthony house. And on page 79, line 6, it should be Katie Eggers Como, not the name that's not pronounceable there.
Okay. Any other corrections? Motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
I'll move.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Minutes stand approved as corrected. Was this meeting duly advertised, Ramsey?
Yes, it was properly advertised in the Brighton Pittsford Post of September 10th, 2020.
Well, that meeting is duly advertised, will now be held. We have two communications. First one is from Mary Jo Lamphere, dated 9/22, regarding 322 South Landing Road. And we also have a letter from Angela Victor. I'm going to do this wrong.
Picaro.
Picaro, thank you. Dated 9/23, regarding 322 South Landing Road. The first item on the agenda is application 9H-01-20. Application of Mary Jo Lamphere, town historian, for property at 322 South Landing Road, tax number 138.05-2-77 for landmark designation. And I assume there's someone here to speak on that.
Yeah, I am.
Great.
Angela.
For the record, please state your name, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm Angela Picaro. And just for the record, it's 332 South Landing Road.
I didn't say that correctly? I said 322. It's 330.
332.
Sorry.
And then in my letter to you, I have my own correction. And for some reason, in the third line, I said you are a historic reservation committee. It looks like preservation, and so I can fix that myself for you, and I think I did that twice. You are the preservation committee. And so I am not sure exactly what it is that you might want me to do tonight, or what the procedure is. So Mary Jo Lamphere wrote this note. I have a copy of it. And I have a statement of situations that I wrote to you. And I don't know whether you have a conversation. I don't know whether you have questions, and I don't know whether you want me to have questions.
Ken, do you want to respond to this?
Sure, be happy to. Ms. Pikikaro, am I saying that correctly?
Perfectly.
Thank you. Ms. Pikikaro, first of all, thank you very much for attending tonight. It's so important to have our residents come to these meetings, and what you're here for, I hope and I trust, is to provide your input at this public hearing on whether your home at 332 South Landing Road should be designated a landmark under the town's historic preservation law. And I think you have had an opportunity to see the papers prepared by Mary Jo Lamphere, to see the cultural resources survey prepared in 2004 on the house, and to see the update that was prepared this past February by Barrow Associates, all of which is before this board tonight as part of the record on the public hearing to determine whether your house should be designated. So the way this works is this is your opportunity to provide information, your testimony, or any other documentation you wish to present to the board, to present your side as to whether you think your house should or should not be a designated landmark under the town's historic preservation law. You're welcome to present anything that you think is relevant to that issue. And the board may have questions for you. It is a process that really is for the board to receive your information, not so much for the board to respond to your questions. But if you have questions, we will certainly try to address them as best we can. So with that, I hope that explains where we are in the process. You may, if you wish, read your statement to the board. I think it has been circulated and it will be made part of our record, and it will be considered in the board's decision-making. In fact, there it is. Brett has just shared it on our Zoom meeting window. So with that, I want to turn it back over to the chair of the commission, Jerry Ludwig, and ask if you, Ms. Pikikaro, want to give your testimony at this time or present anything else.
Okay, so is Jerry Ludwig?
That's me.
Okay, and so would you address me at this point?
Sure. Just a couple of comments. First of all, I noticed that you have used a couple of people, Jim Keane, I believe, and also Charles Cook. I'm very familiar with both. They've done work on our house. So I logged you and getting the right people to do the job. And John is giving a thumbs up to that. The other thing is, I guess I'd like to make a couple of statements before you go on, if that's okay. We are very interested in assisting in any way we can with help in a historic house. As you have seen earlier, I don't know whether you tuned in, but there was a lady here earlier who has a mid-century modern house, and she has some windows. And we all know, and I live in a 1917 house, and we all know that older houses need repair, but sensitive repair. And so one of the things that the board, we try to do is to help people in that respect. The other thing that was done several years ago was we sort of did a little research and trying to determine whether or not historic properties, when they went for sale, if the historic designation had a detrimental effect on the resale value. And at that time, we found that every single property that had sold went for more than the appraised value. So I don't think necessarily that historic designation is a detriment. So with those two things in mind, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, well, thank you, Jerry. And ironically, before this meeting, I called Margie Searle and told her that this was going to happen today. And she laughed and she said, well, you're going to hear me. So yes, I don't know her well. In the last year, we have been in a group together. And so I did not know that she had this historic house. But I did know that she has a very significant knowledge base of preservation. And so I wanted to get her input in regards to what she thought about this consideration for this house. So it was just, small town kind of situation. I want to be able to clarify some issues. Some are maybe up a little bit in terms of a debate, and other things really need to be carefully looked at. For example, in the description of the house, so Mary Jo Lamphere, she actually did follow Katie Eggers Como's suggestion that this house is an Italian Renaissance style house. I actually called Roger Brown earlier this afternoon, and I do not know whether you know his name. He designed the garage that fooled everyone, just for the record. It was listed that I had changed the original door to the historic garage. I built this historic garage. So, yes, sir, Barbarino. It's that Roger Brown actually designed that garage, and Jim Keene built it. And Roger Brown designed my addition on the back of the house, and Jim Keene built it. And Jim Keene has done all of the inside, interior and exterior work of this house, except for the roof, where I did have to engage the cook company. And things will change. He has retired. He will still come because I called him, but he reminds me that he's retired. So here are the situations in regards to this house being designated here in these papers that I have received and you've received. That's Italian Renaissance. It shocked Roger Brown because actually it's an amalgam house. It is a combination of craftsman mission, an elegant center entrance colonial, and a broad brush historical basis, you look very hard and far, of an Italian Renaissance style. By far, the furthest removed of the rest of the presentation of what the house actually looks like, which is rough stucco, as opposed to smooth stucco of Italian Renaissance, angled, and not just the front, but there are buttresses all around the house of these angles. These are very, very specific, documented across the country, particularly Chicago, Michigan, of the craftsman mission style. So we would just have to fix that as a description, because the description of the house should actually, no matter what, be accurate. And then what I wanted to add is that I have always paid attention to this house. Stuart 40 years. So I also appreciate the fact that it's now the DeRitter, the Kikero house, and I'm still here. There are no plans of departing. I am still the steward of this house. So I'm completely engaged with it. And from day one is my MO for this house. So I don't really come to you with a yay or nay or a duke out situation. I want to do and continue to do the right thing for the house. It wants to be taken care of, and it deserves to be taken care of. And I want that to continue to happen. And when you tell me, Jerry, that there isn't a relative monetary distinction between having a historic house and its sale price versus not, there's something that has happened to this house that is relatively dastardly. And it's the cell tower. Nobody cares because you drive by. It looms over my house. When I speak to someone on the phone, now I'm in my beautiful dining room right now because it's night and it doesn't matter, but most of the time I'm in my sunroom, this addition that is world class. It looks out on a cell tower that was not there before. This is not a small deal for this house. The duress that this house has, am I still with you? Ah, bravo, bravo. Okay. So there's one duress. I'm standing in my addition inside, so I'm not even outside. And this is what I'm looking at. The picture above it is another duress, and that is that if you go out on my wonderfully historic looking garage and you stick out a long arm, you might get hit by a car. That's a little hypothetical and maybe a little hyperbolic, but because there's a wall there. But the point I'm making is that you can feel every single car go by. Every single truck. And if you even were sitting here with me right now, you would hear the single car that goes by. You also hear thousands of cars go by all day long. And of those trucks that stop right after. So you see my house, and then there's Landing Road coming into 441, and that's my turn in. About 100 feet further to your left there is East Avenue, where people stop. So everybody's stopping. So all of the stop noises are there, and all of the vibrations. And this is where I want to speak to you about my stucco. My stucco shakes every day. And if you look very hard, I wanted to take a picture of it for you, but it's hard to get the clarity of it. It's disintegrating. It's powdering off of the house. So now if you look at the picture on the right, you can see where I have not had Jim Keene do anything recently, but you can see that probably next year or the year after, that's going to be a hole because mold gets in there. And if you stare hard at it, you can see the little cilia, the little hairs sticking out from underneath that white stuff because there's moisture inside there. So on the left, there, okay. So on the far left, on the far right of the picture is the beginning of my addition, and on the right side where there is the light, you can see that it wants to fall off. It wants to fall off. And the dark part is where I've had a recent repair where there were holes. And so I don't want to rant and rave about this, but there's something called honest repair. This house has never been painted. This house has never had anything applied to it but something called exposed aggregate. That's when you mix the stone into the I'm getting all excited about this, the concrete. And you apply it onto the original lath that is underneath the stucco. This is what Jim Keane does. Now, so now we're looking at all these different areas where in the center picture, you can see that white area that needs repair. And also on the far right, you can see it's whitish. It's whitish where the stones have fallen off. The layer of concrete is still there. And it isn't a hole yet because I have recently, and it's $5,000 per trip of fixing the holes on Landing Road South. Prior to me being in this house, on the far left side, you see two lines of kind of looks like gunky concrete. That is how the previous owners fixed this house. They did not do the exposed aggregate technique. They just threw concrete in the cracks. It's not pretty. So, you know as well as I do that 10 Hawthorne Street is for sale. It is an Arthur Headley house. I drove there today and got out of my car and walked up to it and touched it. And you see that they have I don't know whether you call it painting or what, and nobody was there. And so I have, you know, these are things that could be discovered, and you might know them. That entire house, including the chimneys, have been covered in a coating so that the entire house looks the same. It has paint on it. That Jim Keane, and so these are all my problems that you're looking at. And if you look very close to this one, I took it because you can see the little hairs of algae inside, which eats concrete, which makes the rocks fall out, which makes the holes happen. So 10 Hawthorne fixed that problem. And the sister house of this house on 25 Harwood Lane in East Rochester. Amazingly similar house, but has also some characteristics of 10 Hawthorne. We're all looking a little bit different, but also a lot the same. You know that Arthur Headley built us or designed us. So 25 Harwood Lane also painted itself. Has something on it. I didn't have a nerve to park my car in their driveway and touch it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we've got a scoop here that's no small deal. That has been my scoop and my situation with Jim Keane, but it will change. It must change. Because that original picture of 441 and where it sits vis-a-vis my house has changed the tension that this house feels from the vibrations of vehicles. And so the cracks and the fissures are actually incrementally bigger and more often. Just saying, okay? And then we have the issue of the tile roof. The tile roof is underlayment, the ice and water shield is completely deteriorated. And you might know some people who've taken off their tile roof and put on their own tiles back again, like the house on the corner of Gulfside Parkway and Landing Road. They sold their house. They cried every day because it's impossible to do, as Charles Cook very well knows, is to get all of those old tiles to fit together again, and all these different configurations is nigh impossible. If you have $100,000, you can fix your roof with new Spanish tiles. You're welcome to do it. But the house that Roger Brown told me about, that happens to also be on Hawthorne Street. You hadn't looked at it yet. Are you nodding your head? You know about it?
No.
Oh, okay. Is that it replaced its tile roof with tile roofs with tiles that are made out of steel.
No.
So anyway, all I'm saying in these are the three things that I wrote to you that are tremendous stressors on this house that are not ordinary. They're not ordinary. They're very expensive. And this house on the lot of 490, I mean, you walk down to the creek, you can wave the trucks, hello. And then you walk along the side, you can't wave to them now because they don't see you, but they're very close by on 441. And certainly it's a corner house of Landing Road. This is a particular circumstance of this house that probably doesn't play a role in most of your houses.
That's right.
It just needs to be understood, the stress of owning this house.
Well, I laud you for hanging in there and doing what you've done. Unfortunately, we can't fix the cell tower and we can't fix Landing Road.
No.
441.
Right.
But you've got, and when Jim Keane has retired, and that's a problem we're having. A lot of the craftsmen are at or nearing retirement age, and I don't know. There's probably some other stucco people around. John may know of some. Certainly, there are other roofers around that can take off the tile. And I'm not sure that part of the problem with the stucco is that the roof leaked. Water got down between the stucco and the sheathing, and that's what's partially causing the problem, because there are, as I recall, pretty good overhangs on the house, and I suspect that's maybe what's causing that problem.
So the leaking itself of the roof, that's the underlayment problem for sure, because the leaks I have an attic, a partially finished attic, and I have inside floor tarps about over 50% of the house, the floor, and then in heavy rains I run up there and see, if I need to move something or to do something. The stucco is our exterior forces that are coming from the outside. So the settling, the cracks, you saw those lines, and it's a deep, deep overhang. um, water does not necessarily really get onto the house. Rain come this way. What happens is that there are these cracks that are happening as I described. And I would love to have somebody come and walk around inside and out and learn this house. Because what I'm telling you is 40 years worth of living here. Is the essential deterioration of 110-year application that has never had a preservation put on it. It's never been painted. It's never been varnished. It's never been never. As you know, in other wood-clad homes, you can replace it even if it's historic. You know, there are things that you can do and do, or you can cover it with something that's a preservation material. There isn't a preservation material on this house. There is on 10 Hawthorne, and there is on 25 Harwood Lane. So these are issues that are relatively imminent for this house. So we can't ignore a flashing light here.
John?
I think that Angie has described the situation as it is. It's a house that has the condition that it has, irrespective of what we do with it. So we do have access to knowledge on helping people make decisions when they are confronted with rehabilitation opportunities or challenges. And at the time that would come up, you know, we could participate. So we're not unmindful of specific situations that relate to specific properties. And this property does have the two conditions regarding the finishes that Angie described, where you have a special roof and you have a special material on the siding of the house. That is, the other conditions are just, you know, bad luck in terms of the road and the cell tower. The house and the other houses that she mentioned, you know, are good examples of the design acumen of the architect. It's great to hear that Roger Brown worked on your house. He has had a hand in a number of historic homes where he's done a very nice, you know, addition or light touch. He's sort of the man about town in terms of preservation and community planning. So he's I know him very well. Anyway, so I agree with what Jerry said about how you've cared for the house and how you've stuck it out, and how it's been unfortunate that 441 is such a thoroughfare and that the cell tower happened to end up there. On the other hand, it's a gorgeous house. The design of the house is gorgeous, and Roger Brown did a great job on it. I think Ken and Jerry, based on what Angie has told us about her and Roger's opinion about the description, that it would perhaps be appropriate to share this information with the consultant and attempt to get a consensus on the description of the style of the house, and if you think that's appropriate, Ken.
Well, I was reading over the materials, and actually Cynthia Hauk does mention mission style.
Oh, okay, good.
Mention that that Mr. Headley had a unique design and calls it Italian Renaissance style. Notes specifically the rough finished stucco cladding that was unique to his Italian Renaissance style, and notes that there are other features that fit into the Italian Renaissance design, but some that do not. And
Right.
so I think, like with any significant work of art, it is unique to this artist. What he brought to the table to be designed as this house. And it is perhaps not, strictly speaking, a classic Italian Renaissance design.
No,
But
right.
it is a, I think both Ms. Hauk and Ms. Eggers-Como would agree that it is a particularly good example of a Headley style Italian Renaissance design. And that is how I would phrase it in the resolution if there was one that this commission asked me to put before it.
Well, if I were to drive by the house, Italian Renaissance would probably be way down on the list of what I would call it. It just doesn't make, and I'm not an architectural historian by any means, but I think of the Osborne house in Victor as an Italian Renaissance house or something like that, but not this house. But the other thing that comes to mind, if Angie were to sell a house, I would think she would want some assurance that the future owners would do what was right with the house as she has done. And of course, that's one protection that historic preservation would give the house.
So I think you are correct, because you would, it would attract the person who wants to participate in this type of, I don't know, life. It's a commitment. It's a stewardship. There, let's call it that. They would want to participate in the continuation. I think this house will be here for another 100 years. There is not much moving it except trucks right now. Is that the duress that the house has? And so you could say it's unfortunate and it's bad luck, and it's true. It's unfortunate what the roads have done, and it's unfortunate that the cell tower is here. But I am very worried with another level of stress and duress that who would choose to continue this? That's my issue. Would they prefer to continue it on Hawthorne Street, or on Harwood Lane, or on some other designation of on some other place, rather than here? And I don't have a huge investment in this in terms of saying, it would be a shame for this designation to be here. I don't think it would be a shame. I consider it another stress level for the people who would continue to live here, or who would choose, or who would want to live here. because they would have a choice. It's gonna be expensive. It's expensive to do this work. It's bottom line.
Well, it would be expensive no matter what you did. I mean, it would be expensive to re-stucco it. It would be expensive to do whatever. You know, it's part of the. We have a slate roof. That's expensive. It's part of the deal. And if people, you're either going to find one or two types of people. One, people who want to live in a historic house, or people who want to live in a new build in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's like having an old car, and people know me. Know we have several of those. And yes, you can buy a new car, or you can buy an old car. Well, if you have an old car, you got old car problems, and if you have an old house, you've got old house problems. And part of our mission, or at least I hope it is to help those or assist those that have older homes and making sure they find the right mechanic or the right people to take care of the house.
Hey, Jerry, I had a quick comment, if I could. I wanted just to first off just say, I think it's obvious to, well, it's certainly obvious to me and probably everyone else, that there's such a commitment and a love that Angie has for this home. I mean, I can hear it. I can hear the passion, the fact that you've been here for 40 years in this home, that you've taken such great care of it. You know, that, first of all, that's what preservation is all about. It's about the human connection and the responsibility that you feel for this great resource. And so for that, I just want to say, you know, on behalf of the community, thank you for continuing to do what you have done. I would also just point out that I think that some of the repairs, particularly the repair I think that you had included in a photograph that where you showed the previous owners, this is how they repaired it. You know, they put the goop in. This is how I'm repairing it. And the repairs that you're undertaking seem to be just spot on. And to Jerry's point, once we work to designate this property, if it was going to be designated, then yeah, there you go. Thanks. So you had mentioned I think on the far left, right, Angie, about yeah, right, and then showing us the treatments that you used and going and utilizing the best craftsmen I think that the community can provide for this amazing resource. And that's what designation would do, I think, moving beyond this year and future years, is it really makes sure that the same type of care that you've provided the home gets carried forward. And I do believe that, you know, we see it all the time. We see people who feel connected to these structures, who feel a responsibility toward these structures, and they understand that it's not a small price tag. It happens throughout the community all the time. So that's all I have to say. I wanted just to make the first point to say thank you, and it's an amazing structure. It's a beautiful home.
Well, thank you, actually, and I appreciate it. And you are right, and I'm sure you can hear it, is that I do truly love this house.
Right.
And my family loves this house. Comically, I didn't include it, but is that when they left for the summer, they hugged it physically. So this is good. What I am worried about is why 10 Hawthorne is completely painted, and why 25 Harwood is completely painted, because there are circumstances where you want to have the best foot forward, and you know, sometimes it's a monetary thing, but even if it isn't a monetary thing, it can be a visual thing. Is it possible that the person who wants to continue to be the steward of this house that it really calls for when you're here in it would be able to make those decisions that that are good for it in the future, as opposed to a committee that decides how and what you should do.
I don't know what you're doing.
Well, hopefully the two aren't mutually exclusive. I don't know. I mean, painting stucco or painting brick can have mixed results, especially if the paint does not breathe. That probably would compound issues. Would it fill in some cracks or maybe prevent some deterioration? I don't know. I would have reservations about that. I don't know. John, what do you think?
Well, each house and each system has its own needs. There's different ways to approach it, and it isn't something that we have that we would have an answer for now. It was something that would have to be considered as different options based on what your goals are. And so I can't say that painting it is the right answer. I can't say that painting it is the wrong answer. It's something that would be evaluated when it was desired to make a decision about it, and it would be investigated at that time.
I can pretty much assure you we would not approve that putting vinyl siding over it, which is, believe it or not, which has happened to a tutor on Highland Avenue between East Avenue and 590. You'll see a tutor there with vinyl siding, and it's
Yeah, you know, there are sad stories. There are sad stories, and so far, truly in the history of this house, and you feel it when you walk in the door, that this house has been loved, and it loves you back. It really does give a lot, and I would just I have this worry that that if it feels mandated, that as we've seen in some houses, then nothing gets done.
well, I don't think we would mandate that nothing gets done. I think if there was a particular issue that came up, we would look at it, and hopefully, if we didn't know, we would research it to the point where we would know. I think that the biggest mandate is to do no harm. So we have to be very careful about what we say yes and say no about, because in the long run, it might look like a good idea to start with, but in the end run, if it's harmful to the house, then it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
Do no harm is, I think, a good mantra.
Yes. So I put forth, and it was, I appreciate having this time to tell you the important things that I think, and the important things that the House has spoken.
Well, if I could reach through the Zoom thing and pin a gold star on your sweater, I would do it. I can't say enough about your fortitude and your perseverance and taking care of this special house.
Well, thank you. And then I would ask Is there anything else on the table that I can contribute to?
Well,
Good.
I'm fine, thank you. You've contributed far more than we expected, and I thank you for that. That's not a derogatory thing at all. I mean, I really appreciate your taking the time, to put it in writing, and also B, coming here or coming there and spending your time explaining everything. We appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying it. But as you know, because you do this, it's very important. It's hugely important. And so I don't think it should be done blithely. I don't think that it should be done rubber stampy at all. I think it deserves a serious consideration.
Well, I agree. And I don't think anyone here takes their duties lightly. I mean, we all try to spend as much time as possible, and we're here if you need us.
So great. I think fine. And if anybody is inclined, and probably many of you are inclined to drive by here, because everybody does, seriously ask yourself that somebody who has the wherewithal and the time and the energy, would they choose this house?
Well, I think that applies to pretty much any historic house. I mean, everybody says location, and that's certainly one thing, but that would apply to any house that was there. So, and we have to drive slowly because of the speed bumps. So we will cruise by it. I've gone by it. I used to live on North Landing. I used to live on North Landing Road, and so I will go by it again and again. And if you're out in the yard, we'll stop.
So it's so good. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I do not know whether it's a necessary given to have this platform to explain. So I appreciate that. And I am very, very happy to speak again to Cynthia Houck, for example, because Roger Brown, and I think Roger Brown would like to speak to Cynthia Houck, and have a clarification as we go forward in any permanent description of this house, so that it isn't a jaw dropper in your sense. It should make sense. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, comments? Anyone? No one? Hello?
Do we need to put the, I'm just wondering, Amanda Dreer, do we need to put the matter over to allow for a possible amendment to the application? Because the application that Mary Jo submitted does state, architectural style or period Italian Renaissance. So I think perhaps the matter needs to be adjourned until next time to make clarification of that. But otherwise, I support the application. I think the house falls within the categories as Mary Jo described, and it is a wonderful house. And I think by designating it, we will ensure that every future owner takes the same care and time with the house, with our support and help as needed over the years, as has been done by Angie.
And Jerry, I would support if we needed to. I would certainly, as Amanda suggested, I would support if we needed to table this to look at the
Could I just
definition-
step in here on a procedural matter, please?
Sure.
I've been sort of waiting to jump in, but maybe I waited too long. So let's talk about where we are procedurally, folks. Right now, we're in the middle of a public hearing. We're not discussing a resolution. No resolution's been put forth before this commission. No motion's been made. No motion's been seconded. We're in the middle of a public hearing. As a matter of this public hearing, certainly this commission could keep the public hearing open until its next meeting. This commission does not need to make any decision or have any resolution decided tonight. There's no requirement or time limit within the code that says you have to have a decision made. You could close the public hearing, but for a additional submission by Katie Eggers-Como to clarify the style of the house. You could leave it open in that way, or you could leave it generally open and take the matter up. There is no reason to table anything. Tabling something would be if there was a motion or resolution before this body, which there is not. So since we're in the middle of the public hearing, it would be really the chair's prerogative to leave the public hearing open or to close the public hearing with submission of a clarification memo from Katie Eggers-Como relative to the style, the architectural style of this home. I leave that to you to discuss and then decide what you want to do with the public hearing.
I would suggest the latter. That we clarify, we close the public hearing with the exception of clarification by Katie as to the style of the house. I don't know John, how do you feel? How's Amanda? How does everyone else feel on that one, please?
Yeah, I would like to close the public hearing and move on to seeking a clarification.
I agree.
I agree.
Diana? You're muted.
I agree. I'm just choking. I turned my mute off.
And that's fine with me. And I guess one point I was just going to make is, you know, when I look at this house and I guess I can actually, maybe I'm the oddball out. I can actually see a little bit of the Italian Renaissance style in this.
It's there.
Yeah, you know, it is. And I can see where that definition is used. It's certainly a unique style. It's unique, I'm sure, to the architect, which is one of the reasons that it's so incredibly, I think, significant. But certainly, yeah, I see a lot of mission hanging around that style too. So I'm certainly not opposed to getting a clarification on that and revising it.
And Ramsey, I think you have a chat to check. And the only other comment that I was going to make was there's absolutely no problem with keeping this matter on the agenda for your next meeting. And then you could take this matter up. No need to table it. As I said, there's nothing that has been moved. We could take it up as a matter of old business at the next meeting to make a decision. So that is what I think would be procedurally what we would do.
Would you like a motion to that effect?
No, I think it's the chair's prerogative to simply declare that the public hearing is closed except for the submission of a memo of clarification from Katie Eggers-Como with respect to the architectural style of this home.
Then I suggest that's what we do. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Angela.
Pardon?
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity. And so I'm going to cut out. I'm
Right. We will not be taking action tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We have no certificates of appropriateness, no hardship applications. Public hearings are closed. New business, any new business? Old business, 909 North Landing Road. We had some clarification on that, Mary Jo, I think. That there are basically the original schoolhouse, then there was the addition, and also the manse or parish residence. And do we want to proceed with that? Have we sent a letter?
Yes, we did send a letter.
Oh,
I met with representatives of the church today via Zoom.
Okay.
We had a bunch of questions about issues of maintenance, landscaping, their roof, replacement of a window. I'm just trying to understand how the process works. They also were thinking about maybe selling off the home and wanted to know if designation would impact that. The report does say that the home is not a distinguishing feature of the property.
Right.
But if you subdivide it, you would be altering the property. So there's a number of things that they brought up. They do have to go back to their congregation and the larger congregation in the Rochester area just to get approval. They have no position at this time because they were not in position to say they support the application or not. But they will be talking about it and following back up with us. So we are in a position, if you did want to schedule this for a public hearing, we could do that for the October meeting, if you like. I don't see any reason why not.
Okay.
We
Mary
did
Jo,
tell
would you
them
agree?
about the Sacred Sites program of the New York Landmarks Conservancy. And that was another thing that might be helpful to them.
Have you met with them, Mary Jo?
We met today. Ramsey and I met with
We're
them
part of
today.
that meeting. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Did it seem like they would have enough time to go through the channels they were talking about and to get feedback? Is a month going to be enough time for them if we set the public hearing for next month? I wouldn't want to prevent them from doing their due diligence and who they need to talk to with the congregation.
Well, it's common for people to ask for an extension whenever we put something on the agenda.
Okay. So if they need it, they'll ask for it.
And with the policies have adopted by the commission, I do have that authority to grant those adjournments once for reason, if that did pop up.
Okay,
I
thanks.
did tell them, Amanda, that it is, the next step would be that the board could schedule the public hearing for the October meeting. I did say that to them. I did explain to them that it was, if you felt that the property was worthy of designation, it was really your obligation as a commission to designate it. So
Well,
they
maybe
really understand the powers that you have.
maybe we should go ahead and set the public hearing. And then if there's reason to postpone it for a month, we can do it. Otherwise, we can move ahead.
Okay.
What do you think about that? John,
Sounds
give a
good.
thumb up. David? Okay.
Sounds good.
Do you want to call a vote on that, Ramsey?
Yeah, let me just write a note. This is to schedule a public hearing to consider designation. I'm sorry, did I have a motion on that?
I'll move.
Second?
Yeah.
David, seconds.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Goodman,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Greer,
Yes.
motion passes. We'll get the hearing scheduled for the October meeting.
Now, at one time on 1037 South Winton. Bill, I think, was going to speak with someone of the congregation. I don't know whether that's happened or not. Do you know, Ramsey?
Last time I talked with them, it had not, and I don't think it's happened since because they are in the holidays.
Okay, I guess I would like to
There was
have,
something else I wanted to talk with them about, and he just said right now is not the time to go be talking to them. So that is the latest. I did bring it up to him again.
okay, I would
Ted, do you
suggest,
have any update on that by any chance?
Nope, I have the same knowledge you do. What I might suggest, Ramsey, is maybe make a note for yourself to bring it up at one of your Friday meetings. Maybe not this Friday because it is the Friday before Yom Kippur, but maybe the following Friday or.
I think you're right. I think if I brought it up again, he will wonder if I'm not hearing him. I brought it up last Friday.
What? You want me to bring
I
it up?
bring
Is
it
that
up
what you're
every
telling me?
Friday, by the way.
You know, I can pester the man is like a champ. So if you want me to do it, I
Well,
can.
I'm good at pestering him. I'm just saying I would pass this Friday, and I'm going to put it on for next Friday, a couple of weeks down the road. I have to be careful and use my pestering minimum.
ration it out.
Well, if you do it too much, you're not going to be able to go down and talk to him in the office.
Well, I suggest we hold off on that until Bill's had a chance to
Yes. Yeah.
this conversation.
He's got a lot going on, and a lot of his attention has been focused over the last month, not just on COVID, but on budget. And that's been a huge burden on him, and they finally have pulled together a budget that will work, as ugly as it is. So it's not that I don't think it's that he's disinterested. I don't think that it's that he doesn't see the importance of this matter. I think it's just that there are other things that have been in the way.
Okay, that's fine. Any other old business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you. Thank
Have
you.
a good night.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Rhoda, thank you.